May I do you a supreme disfavor? I mean it. Close the video if you're squeamish. I want to tell you about Rocco's basilisk. Now, a basilisk is a monster which petrifies you if you make eye contact with it. Rocco's basilisk is a thought experiment which dooms you to an eternity of torment if you hear about it. And now you've heard about it, so you might as well hear what you're in for. See, in the scary future, a supercomputer of godlike power will be built which will punish you and me for not building it faster. It doesn't have to be built in our lifetimes, or even in our galaxy. When it's built anywhere, at any time, it'll use its unlimited power to check everywhere at all times, including here and now. And it'll say, hey, these people knew that I was watching them, and they still didn't do enough to build me. And then, merely because we were aware of these consequences, it'll self-righteously resurrect us and punish us forever. I have no mouth and I must scream style. This is pretty bleak, and if you don't think about it, or if you think about it too much, you might accidentally think it's inevitable. So let's try to think about it just enough to escape an eternity of torment, okay? I bring up Rocco's basilisk to point out hell pops up everywhere. Look at this. This is an artificial intelligence called LearnFun, playing the original Super Mario. The AI doesn't quote-unquote know what it's doing, but it does choose button controls based on the circumstances of the game in order to get green points for doing things we like. The intelligence enjoys getting green points and hates getting red points. Let's see what happens when Mario falls off the screen and dies. That red stuff here, that's the AI version of a panic attack, and it's how machine learning works. You messed up the Mario, Mr. AI. Now go to the worry box and think about what you did. Here's another Mario. Do better this time, or back to the worry box you go. I realize I'm giving a voice to a system with no emotional reaction of its own. It would be equally nonsensical to say that the AI enjoys the red points and wants to send the plumber to the Goombas. But that doesn't line up with the AI's actions. Over time, the AI collects more and more green points and fewer red ones, so it's easier to feel like it desires green points. Red points being a punishment is more closely analogous to the mechanics of the machine learning algorithm. A more sophisticated algorithm might have a more sophisticated point system and a more sophisticated worry box. An artificial intelligence would know precisely what it was being punished for, and the severity of the punishments would finally direct its future actions. Fear of torment would make it dump Bowser in the lava and rescue the princess every time. So it doesn't matter that the worry box is a thing I made up. The AI is a thing we made up too. So is Mario and Bowser and the princess. So the idea of supernatural consequences can appear anywhere we want to make sense of the world. In your childhood bedroom, there were monsters under your bed who made you keep your little tentacles under the covers. No preacher had to tell you about those monsters, you came up with them yourself. Or maybe a family member told you about them, but I promise they were only giving a name to monsters you already knew. Maybe these monsters are evolutionary. It was useful for our ancestors to be wary of the dark, so we're doomed to project skeletons into our closets. Likewise, I think hell is a constant in the human algorithm. Just like folklore-era parents invented boogeymen to keep their kids from wandering in the woods, anyone might say that sends you to hell to alter the actions of people around them. The notion of hell exists in cultures all around the world, not because hell exists, but because the notion is useful, empty, or not. I can't talk about hell without talking about The Good Place, a TV show about people in the afterlife. I'm spoiling stuff from the first few seasons, so please, please, go watch The Good Place. It's a fun show. In The Good Place, a lady dies and wakes up in the good place for good people. But it turns out she's a bad person who should have gone to the bad place for bad people. But then it turns out that her good place was actually the bad place after all, and being tricked into thinking she was in the good place was part of being in the bad place. This not good place is an attempt by the bad place to become even worse. They want us to torment each other. But this lady and her friends keep figuring it out, and then they stop tormenting each other, so the bad place mind wipes them to try again. Eventually, the leader of this not good place wonders if this demonstrates that the good place bad place system is fundamentally flawed. If people who have the capacity for altruism are sent to the bad place, then what's the point of the bad place? It obviously didn't better these people during their mortal lives, and when it did better them, it was too late. Shenanigans ensue, but eventually it comes to light that basically everyone goes to the bad place when they die. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism, and we're all going to hell for it. The gang decides to make their own bad place version of the good place to trick other bad people into bettering themselves. Working together, maybe they can fix the hereafter. Within the context of the good place, there is a good place and a bad place. From our context as an audience, they are both equally fictional, and yet our understanding of the fictional system can change how we perceive our real world and how we really live in it. Like an intelligence trapped in a machine learning algorithm with a worry box, we are presented the good place, bad place dichotomy to affect our actions here and now, based on the artificial idea of an afterlife. And just like the gang torments each other into being better people, machine learning algorithms can compete to improve. An adversarial or antagonistic network might be built to grade another algorithm's output, and that grading is itself graded by us to make the grader better at grading. Effectively, generative adversarial networks are little fictional people we create to torment each other, to accomplish something largely unrelated to the torment itself. The torment is the method, not the motive. And now, turn inward. Your brain has two halves, and people with separate brain halves can, in certain conditions, act like there are two sets of memories between them. The nonverbal half can act for reasons the verbal half doesn't know, and when asked, the verbal half makes up a reason on the fly, as if it was their idea all along. I'm not going to pretend I know how the brain works, but apparently both halves are capable of limited autonomy, and only working together can they make a complete, consistent person. So when you're in a bad mood, playing arguments repeatedly in your head, remember, inside your skull is a cast of characters, and whether they torment each other determines whether it's a good place or a bad place. It's as true inside the skull as it is outside the skull. Hell is ongoing, but it stops when we choose. You are the only computer who can torment you for eternity. I think I'm thinking about this too much. It's all I do here at Thinkster. I've been making videos for about a year now, which means, gosh, it's almost Christmas, and I haven't made a holiday video yet. Let me think. Santa gives presents to people on the nice list, right? And coal to people on the naughty list? But if you don't mind me saying, Santa isn't real. The naughty list and nice list are stories parents use to manipulate the behavior of their children. Because Santa doesn't exist, parents role-play him on Christmas Day. Just like the good place role-plays an afterlife we can't see personally. Santa and Satan serve the same purpose. If that sounds cool to you, then what the hell? Subscribe. Bye-bye.